What is up, guys? We are back on the tractor. We're going to get this thing finished up. We got a lot of work to do. We got to get stripped down, get this frame painted. While the engine's off, we're going to do a few things to it. But before any of that, we got to build an exhaust and a stack for this thing, because like any good tractor, this thing needs a flapper. So let's get busy. All right, so like I mentioned, still a lot of work to do on this thing, but we're going to get started by getting this factory muffler off of here, because like any good tractor, this thing needs a full exhaust with a stack and a flapper on it, because that's the whole reason you build a tractor, so you can have a flapper. So to do that, I just dug out some junk pit bike exhaust I had laying around, and I think I'm gonna go with this muffler here, because it's already got a nice bend on it to where we can get it kicked away from the hood a little bit and get it kind of tucked up in there. So it'll be something like that. And we got this tab we can build off of, go to these bolt holes and make a nice little bracket for it. So that's what I'm going to start doing. The rest of it, I'm just going to cut up, weld it together, see what we come up with. So let's get started. Okay, so just show you guys what I came up with real quick. Just did some slicing and dicing on those two exhausts, and I cut the flange off the factory muffler and used it, and just welded up something super simple and easy that worked for us. So I like it. As you see, I wrapped the bottom half of it in a header wrap, just down here where your legs and I guess if you're fortunate enough, maybe your dick's hanging out and you don't want to be burning that bad boy. And then up top, the only real reason to ever own a tractor, got ourselves a flap. So show you guys this real quick and we'll get back to work on it. Dang, that thing's cool. But like I said, that was about all I wanted to do to it before we tear it down. So I'm gonna get this thing ripped apart so we can get this frame cleaned up and painted, and I'll show you guys how to get the governor off this engine. Okay, so we got it all stripped down, and look how freaking ugly this thing is with nothing on it. That is horrible. What did we build? I am not proud of this one, guys, but it gets the job done. And got it ready for paint. I am going to zero prep on this thing because I want it to look horrible and start flaking off and rusting back through and looking like an old tractor again. So I'm just going to blast it black as it is. And a couple little things I want to show you guys that I forgot about that I did was on the spindle. The factory tie rod hole was about 2 inches further up here. I just made some tabs, moved them back, and that gave me a ton more leverage on the steering. And down here, if you remember, these little ears were folded down when this thing was lifted, and I was having problems with the angles on the tie rods. So I just cut those, bent them flat, and welded it back up. So just a couple little tips if any of you guys are ever building one of these things. But here it is. So let's get this in one color, and then we'll get to this engine and get that governor out of there. Well, I said I wanted it ugly. I think that's mission accomplished. So good job, us. But let's get this engine up on the bench and get to work on it. Okay, so getting the governors off these engine is really pretty simple. This one, I already got the air filter and exhaust off just because I had to take them off when I got it off the bike. But other than that, first thing you have to do is remove the gas tank. And if you're doing this on a brand new engine, obviously there won't be gas and oil in it, but I've already had this one up and running. So I'll have to drain it real quick and I'll get this gas tank off and I'll come back, show you guys what we got. Okay, so I got the oil drained out and got the gas tank off, which is just two 10mm nuts on one end and an 8mm bolt on the other. Once you get those out of there, the gas tank comes right off. Just unhook your fuel line, leave it where it's at, and then you can access the governor. This is the governor shaft coming through the case right there, and I already loosened this 10mm, so then you can just pop this arm off there, and there's the governor shaft right here. So you'll pull this pin. The way I like to do it is cut the shaft even as close as you can get with the case. I already pulled these 6 10mm bolts off this cover here. It pops right off. The only thing you might want to be careful with is not to rip your gasket, and sometimes it does get stuck on these dowels, so just a hammer and a chisel usually pops it loose. Just be careful with that. But with that off, you can see inside there, that is that governor shaft right there. Once we cut this even with the case, you can push what's left of it down through the block. You do have to maneuver it. You might have to spin the crank a little bit and get it around them gears and the crank and everything, but it'll fit out of there once you cut the top of it off, and then you can get to the rest of it. So I'm going to go ahead, get this cut. I'll get it out of there, get a light shine in there, and you guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so show you guys what you end up with after you get this shaft out of there. As I said, you just cut the top of it off, and you may have to turn the motor a little bit, position this right, but it'll push right out of the bottom. Just make sure there is a washer on there and make sure you get out of there with it. And then you can start to see your governor. That's the wheel right there. And right in the center there is a plastic cap over top the shaft. Some of them, I think on the older engines, are metal, but you just reach in there with some needle nose and that'll pop right out. And be careful, there is another washer just like that one behind there. So reach in with a magnet, make sure you get that washer out, and once it is out, turn this upright. Right around the bottom of that shaft, there is, try to give you guys a better look, you can see right there. You can hardly see it, but there's a snap ring around the bottom of that shaft, and there is really no nice way to get in there and get it out. Your best bet, just find yourself a long, skinny, straight screwdriver, something with a real skinny tip, and just something that catches the edge of that snap ring and just beat it to death with a hammer till you get it popped out of its place. And then you can reach in there with a some needle nose, get the snap ring off, and then this gear, which it doesn't want to focus, but you can see it. Once you get that snap ring out of there, you can reach in with some needle nose and get that gear out. It should just pull right off the shaft, but it's not always super easy. It's meshed with the other gears in there and everything. So it can be a bit of a pain, but it will come out. So I'm gonna go and get the snap ring off and get this wheel off and show you guys what to do next. Okay, so we got it all out of there. Give you guys a look if I can find it right there. That is how small that little ring is. And like I said, there is no nice way going about it. Just find a screwdriver and beat it open to where you can grab with some needle nose, or I used a pick, but just make sure you get that out of there. And once it's out, that wheel, I already have this one loose, but like I said, you'll just grab with some needle nose. You may have to yank it, twist it, hold your tongue right, but it'll come out. And same thing on this. Once it is out, there is down in here, there's actually a chunk of that ring. That's just plastic. But at the bottom of that shaft right here, there is another washer. You have to fetch that out with a magnet or some picks or something. Just make sure you guys get that. And that is pretty much it. And there is a oil safety switch on this, on the newer ones. I guess if you're putting this on maybe a mini bike where you be doing a bunch of wheelies or something, you may want to take that off. I took it off of all my mini bikes, but being on a tractor, I don't see us doing a whole lot of wheelies on that thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave the oil switch in there. So once I get that washer out of there, the only thing else I have to do is plug the hole on top. And that's really not too important. You do want to plug it, but it's not like there's oil pressure or anything behind it. It's just keeping oil that may get splashed by the gears from splashing out of the top. So you can do anything. What I like to do, I just find a screw that fits in there, like a license plate screw fits perfect, and just cover it in silicone or JB Weld or something, run it down in, and that'll be plenty good enough. So I'm going to get this washer out of there. We'll get this thing back together and on. All right, guys, so it is just that easy. Got this thing slammed back together, which is just a matter of getting that cover on there, and we got a screw in that hole with sealant on it. So we'll let this thing sit till morning, just because we're in no hurry, and get oil back in it, get the gas tank on, which is just a matter of them couple of bolts, and that thing is good to go. And if you do this, just make sure you end up with all this junk, so no PC parts get left in the engine. You'll want that shaft that we cut the top of it off of, and it's got a washer on it. Make sure you dig that out. Then you'll have that little C-clip and the cap over top the governor shaft, and then obviously the gear itself, and that gear has a washer top and bottom, so make sure you get both of those. And as long as you got all that, you are good to go. So we're gonna call it a night and come back out here tomorrow once this thing is dry and get it slammed together. All right, guys, we are back at it. Looks like everything is dry and we got our engine back together. So we are set to slam this thing back together. It should only take a few minutes. And after that, maybe we'll go take it for a little test drive, have a little fun with it. It is so good, you guys. Look at this thing. We took two pretty much garbage junk things hanging to the scrapyard, and for 300 bucks and a couple of nights work, look what we made. That is super cool. I love how it turned out. And if you remember, run through it one more time. I only paid 100 bucks for that quad, 100 bucks for the engine when they were on sale at Harbor Freight, and 60 bucks for the mower. So that put us at 260 bucks. And I had to buy a couple small things, a new master cylinder, which is 15 bucks, and a couple of pieces of hardware, nuts and bolts. But yeah, right around 300 bucks we built this thing for. So you guys can be building this stuff. Super cool, cheap, easy. And the best part, you will have a flapper. But let's go have some fun with this thing.
I got the suicide mask. Open wide off with your little ass. That's what I call it. Everybody fucking get out. Is it big or?
Okay, so we're back at my place. Spent the day with my buddy Heaters. I was hoping to get some ride time in on this thing, let those guys get stupid and hopefully hurt themselves. But that didn't work out. The weather was horrible, snowy and cold. So we just hung out over there. And as you guys already seen, I did get it pinstriped and lettered by my buddy Alex, and it looks amazing. So I'll show you guys that in a second. And also did something else to it I think is pretty cool, so we'll check that out. And before I forget, I did start building a drift trike, but I didn't film any of it. I don't know why, I just didn't feel like it, but maybe it'll pop up in another video, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, let's get to the mower and show you guys what's going on with that thing. All right, so here it is. Hopefully none of you guys are offended by it. Actually, hopefully some of you are, because that would make it way more funny. But it's all in good fun. Don't take it too seriously. Then across the back, we put tumbleweed. And the reason behind that, none of you guys seen this, but first time we had this out, me and a couple buddies right on the road in front of my house here, I was flying down the road full speed, which this thing is surprisingly fast. And I locked up the brakes and it got sideways. And the mower, along with me all tangled in it, went tumbling down the middle of the road and landed on top of me and tore me all up. But that's the reason behind that. And I'm sure some of you guys have already noticed the other thing I did. I really wanted a flamethrower on this thing. So that's what that little blue propane tank there is. And originally I wanted it inside the exhaust, but I don't know if it's just the exhaust or the flapper, what the deal was, but I just could not get it to stay lit, or half the time it wouldn't even ignite at all. I think it was lack of oxygen. I don't know, just because it was in the exhaust, or I'm sure the flapper wasn't helping, and I wasn't going to get rid of the flapper. So we went a different route and show you guys what I came up with. Just a cheap $5 propane tank. We got a rubber hose running off of it, comes up under the hood. Under the hood, we went to a copper brake line just so it didn't get melted by the exhaust. So we got copper, came up, and here's what I came up with. I just wrapped it in a ring around the exhaust. I pinched off the other end and just brazed it into a loop. Then went ahead and drilled a bunch of small holes all the way around it. And just a cheap propane grill igniter. Got it running down here to our button. So that's all we got with it. And show you guys this bad boy real quick. Crank this bottle open. Give it a minute to get up there. And should take off. There it is. So I love it. And like I said, it was super cheap. We're still only in this thing just under 300 bucks, actually just over 300 bucks. I think we had 280 bucks in it before the flamethrower. And that only cost me, like I said, $5 for the propane tank. I think the copper brake line and the chunk of rubber was about 10 bucks. And the grill igniter was 15. So like I said, we're just over 300 bucks total in this thing, and look how cool that is. But that's it. I think the best we can do to end this episode is go ahead and do a big smoky burnout if it'll do it. Shooting flames and call it a day. And I don't know if any of you guys are keeping track, but this is episode 99. So the next one is 100 episodes, which I don't know. I never thought that would actually happen, I don't think, but that's kind of exciting. So we'll do something good for that one. And we're going to end this one with a smoky burnout, and we'll see you guys next time.